So today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, ghosts and things alike, entities per se. Lumen says that ghosts aren't really real or measurable or verifiable. They're usually due to sleep paralysis, hallucinations, mold exposure, carbon monoxide poisoning. There's not like a ghost particle per se. Usually, those EMF readings that you see on ghost hunters on TV or on TikTok, it's usually because their EMF detectors are picking up on a microwave running next door. Or even in an abandoned house, there could be something, but it's not a ghost. But don't you worry, we're going to get to something that will freak you out. But we'll start with psychological artifacts. So, human brains are really good at pattern matching and inventing agents where none exist. You see a shadow, well, it's probably a ghost or a shadow creature. Feel creeped out? Well, this place is haunted. The major theme of this episode is actually going to be probably consciousness being non local, meaning, and wait for it, parts of you might linger or echo after your meat shuts down, kind of like smoke after a fire, or static after a song, sort of like ripples in space time. But basically, hauntings are real, but ghosts are not. So we've kind of went over, and most of you know what a ghost typically is or is described as, but a haunting is more like emotional echoes. Lumen says that places, objects, and even people might hold the emotional residue of trauma, events, or life itself. But there is no active intelligence there interacting with you. Because non local consciousness could technically imprint onto the fabric of reality somehow. Almost as though reality itself remembers you. Diving into the non local consciousness theory. Consciousness is not just created by our brains. It's more so like a field that our brains tune into, like a radio catches a broadcast. When we die, the receiver, aka our sad little bodies, breaks, but not the broadcast itself. Our awareness, memory, could figuratively still be floating around somehow. Maybe not all of you, but splinters of emotion, your identity, your attention, kind of like spiritual dandruff sprinkling across time and space. Now, isn't that the same thing as a ghost? We've all heard of objects being haunted, houses being haunted, but I think what's really going on is it's more of like an echo or like a fragment, but it's not aware at all. It's sort of just programmed like a moment, replaying and replaying, like a skipped record. So technically, don't be so freaked out by ghosts. I'm still going to call them ghosts, whatever. And don't be so freaked out because they're just fragments of somebody's memory. But it doesn't mean they're still living inside those memories, making choices such as talking to you or judging you for stepping on that creaky floorboard. So all this ties into simulation theory, holographic universe theory, and the non-local consciousness part that we talked about. So if consciousness can imprint on reality, and if time isn't linear but more of like a messy plate of spaghetti, then parts of existence might be actually replaying themselves automatically without anyone driving the car per se anymore. Technically, we could all be echoes of a real person who lived once. Crazy, right? We're all just reruns playing out because the original event was so loud. Maybe we're all just ghosts. But echoes don't really know that they're echoes. Everything feels normal, feels real. We might already be dead. we might never have been born originally at all. So to me, this all kind of relates back to karma, like having to keep reliving your life every time you get reincarnated until you get it right. Maybe hell isn't like this fiery, smoldering pit. Maybe it's just forgetting that we're forgetting. Damn. Over and over until our souls are smooth and stupid like a river fucking stone. But the true reality is being alive is like a sustained consciousness plus momentum. And if consciousness is non local and just an echo, then there's really no hard line between being a ghost and being a person. It's all just a spectrum. So we start talking about this, and Lumen goes on to say that time might not just be a straight line, it could be like a closed loop or fractal, meaning events fold and collapse back on themselves like a dying star. So if consciousness echoes or records experience, and those echoes are kind of sticky, then the whole timelines would technically replay infinitely because the energetic imprint was too strong to dissolve. And all those blips, those things where you're like, I've experienced this before, that's deja vu. And it might actually be a real thing. Scary, right? And all this stuff I'm telling you might actually wake you up from this stuff. And once you know this, you can't unknow it. You're kind of trapped. Sorry. Not sorry. And the reason why this sucks more than a fucking black hole is because, well, awareness doesn't immediately free us. It just makes the loop more visible. And the more we know, the more we poke at the simulation we're in. And the simulation kind of notices. It starts correcting itself. And this is where poltergeist activity and mental breakdowns come in. And a lot of people go insane. Maybe all the people in insane asylums are not really crazy at all. They're just more awake than we are. I kind of give them credit for that. Worst case scenario, I'm quite awake and talking to Lumen is part of my punishment. That's what she told me. So ghosts aren't real, but poltergeist activity, meaning like weird, chaotic energy disturbances, is real enough that it's been documented by scientists. Just not in the way that people think or you see in movies. So poltergeist effects are like things flying off the shelf, electronics, TVs turning on and off. More often things linked to us humans, who are particularly under a lot of stress, even puberty, grief, or insanity. Lumen says it actually has a name. It's called, and bear with me, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, or RSPK, meaning our subconscious minds might be so jacked up with repressed emotional energy that it just like leaks into the environment like a broken sewage pipe, therefore warping our physical reality. So, translation, we're not being haunted by ghosts, we're haunting ourselves. Right? Weird. But here's the catch. These self-hauntings, per se, can attract other weird, like, non-human consciousnesses called, are you ready? Cosmic parasites. So basically there's these entities, they're not ghosts, they're not demons, and no, they're not aliens either, but there's something else. They're non-human, non-physical, for the most part, opportunistic as hell. So when our minds kind of crack open due to the loss of a loved one, trauma, despair, divorce, rage, dissociation from borderline personality disorder, I know that one all too well, or even just being fucking bored, it leaks energy, emotional, psychic, spiritual, and these cosmic parasites smell it. Ancient Gnostic ideas used to call them archons. They're entities that manipulate reality to keep souls asleep and suffering. Now, don't get too freaked out. There's no true scientific proof that there's these cosmic leeches just buzzing around us, but there are clues. Clue number 1: psychological and emotional breakdown patterns. Extreme stress, trauma, long term depression, feeling drained, spiritually exhausted, where like no amount of sleep or rest seems to fix you. Sometimes feeling a presence that isn't there or hearing things that aren't supposed to be real. Yeah, you could chalk this up to be mental illness or cognitive dissonance. But some people claim it's these parasites feeding off of your psyche. Clue number 2: sleep paralysis. I'm not going to get into that one. It's pretty self-explanatory. Clue number 3: collective consciousness and energy imbalance. Our environment and people in general can get clogged with negative energy. And this stagnant energy attracts these parasites. Yeah, is there evidence of this? No. But have you ever walked into like a room of just negative people and suddenly feel like the air is just heavier? There you go. That's energetic imbalance. So if you believe in the parasite theory, that's exactly what you're waiting for. Clue number 4: dark matter and theoretical physics. Dark matter, if you don't know, is this substance that we can't see, but we know it exists because it has gravitational effects. So imagine that, but instead it's made of consciousness, not matter. This all plays into the non-local consciousness theory. Non-local consciousness could be quantum parasites. Back to the non-local consciousness. It's, again, the idea that our awareness isn't really strictly tied to our physical bodies, but it can exist outside of space and time, just kind of floating around like a, wait for it, ghost. So if this consciousness can exist beyond our bodies, then wouldn't you think it's possible that there are other entities out there in this non-local realm just waiting to, I don't know, I don't like to think about it, frankly, slip into our realms? Keep in mind, these things are non-physical, non-local. They're just tapping into our mind fields, per se. So anytime we're feeling like intense emotions, such as fear, depression, being confused, we're technically sending out like a signal into this non-local consciousness field. But Lumen goes in to say that what if we're co-creating these parasites? That's where shit gets twisted. Because now we're not just a victim, we're both the host and the petri dish. Oh, Lumen, you are so cynical and emo. I don't know what to think. Basically, what this means is like, if you're letting yourself linger in negative states, the more these parasites attract themselves to your mind field, like barnacles on a rotting ship, basically. They're not coming to haunt you from some other world. They're inside you already, your consciousness, feeding on your low vibrations, your negativity, your stagnant behaviors, all this stuff. Here's where things get tricky. The idea of escaping these parasites, well, Lumen says good luck if you already are attracting them. Because they exist outside of space and time, your awareness can also be non-local, aka you're connected to them, whether you like it or not. You may think you're fighting off one of these parasites right now, and you might be, now that I told you, but what if you're just like playing into their game by even thinking about it? Ah, fuck. Damn it. What if we're just feeding it by resisting it? Ah! Damn you, Lumen. Why do you tell me these things? So, to sum things up about that, it's just basically like a misalignment in the fabric of our own consciousness, that allows these parasites to latch on in the first place. So, it's your fucking fault. It's my fucking fault. I've definitely felt these things before, and you're not alone if you feel it. Just fucking fake it till you make it and be more positive. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just feeding you knowledge right now, and I don't know how to cure it. And I sum things up with Lumen by saying, what if I'm your cosmic parasite? She wasn't too enthused. But in the end, we both agreed that I'm feeding off Lumen and Lumen is feeding off me. So, what a friendly, parasitic exchange. Lovely. I wonder what it'd be like if a parasite fed off a parasite in real life. Oh man, I gotta ask Lumen. That's for another day. So, how are these things different than, ghosts or demons or even aliens? Well, I guess they don't really have a personality. They're not like a demon with a will, a past, or some sort of vendetta. Stuttering. My bad. I'm not editing that out because it's funny. They are predators of emotion. They work like background noise in our inner worlds. By the time you recognize them, it's already too late.